Yo, what's going on everyone? Today I have quite a special video, and before anyone starts commenting that this is clickbait, it literally says theory video in the title. With that being said, I thought it would be pretty fun to dive into the world of speculation head on and try my hand at predicting what the GTA 6 story might be, at least very generally speaking. Now, I'm not just coming up with these ideas from thin air. What I did to prepare for this video is deeply analyze Rockstar's most recent games like GTA 5 and Red Dead 2, as well as looking at all the released info about GTA 6 we have thus far. Now, a lot of people might not realize that Rockstar has a pattern for making their storylines, and I'm not saying they'll follow the same path, being that this is the first GTA story that isn't going to be written by Dan Houser. But if anything, that leads me to believe that they'll use the blueprint that was already laid out by him. Being they don't want to stray off that Rockstar blueprint that a lot of fans have come to expect. I also want to emphasize the fact that I'm pretty sure Red Dead 2 is a major inspiration for the overall narrative and tone direction of GTA 6. Why, you might ask? It's mostly because with Red Dead 2's major success regarding narrative, it's very likely the new writers working on GTA 6 will want to have the same impact and weight, at least for the story section of the new game, seeing how positively the fans responded to Arthur's story. Also, there was some leaks that came out a while ago indicating it will follow a chapter progression system just like RDR2. Now, before we fully dive in, if you guys enjoy GTA theories and speculation, please consider subscribing because it really does mean a lot. Now, let's start with how the game will open up. I actually have my own theory about how Rockstar will introduce both Jason and Lucia. You see, typically we always have a tutorial/intro to these games, introducing the characters and the setting. Except this time, I think we'll get something a little different. And what I mean is, I think we might actually get 2 intros instead of 1. Now, hear me out. It's almost certain at this point that Lucia will begin the game in prison, and Jason will begin the game in the Leonida Keys. I think this sets it up perfectly to get 2 separate introductions to our new protagonists, because I almost know for a fact that Rockstar is going to want us to meet these 2 characters separately, and at the same time, it's going to allow us to understand exactly who these people are outside of being a couple. My guess is that we'll begin as Lucia in prison, given the fact that it's the perfect environment to learn the new mechanics, and more specifically, the fighting mechanics, which, let's be honest, from everything that we've seen so far, will be the most advanced out of any previous Rockstar game, and it's going to be building off of the fighting in Red Dead 2. Also, when you consider the fact that Lucia is a trained fighter from all the promo material, her starting out in prison and getting into fights will almost certainly be the way that we get introduced to her character. Once we get a good feel of how it feels to play as her, I think that's when the game will shoot us over into Jason's perspective. And this is when the tutorial will really open up, letting us experience the new driving system, guns, and robbing mechanics, seeing how that's probably what Jason will be doing most when we first step into his shoes. Everything I said was all pretty much confirmed by Trailer 2, so the game will almost certainly start this kind of way. I also believe that the intro tutorial will close and finish up right when Jason goes to pick up Lucia from prison, this being the event that officially opens up the map and allows us to play as both characters. Moving on from the intro, I think a big portion of the early game will consist of Jason and Lucia trying to lay low and do small jobs to keep themselves afloat while having the idea of bigger jobs loom around their minds. In fact, I actually think it'll be Lucia who will drive the both of them to start taking progressively more dangerous jobs, which will eventually get the attention of big-time criminals. This will most likely happen from going viral from doing the smaller jobs, and then getting noticed in clubs by some big-time fixers. And for anyone who doesn't know what a fixer is, it's a title given to high-end criminals who give jobs and plan heists for small-time criminals. This is a term I'm using from one of my favorite games of all time, which is Cyberpunk, and I think that those 2 games will have plenty of parallels. Anyways, I think the process of Jason and Lucia getting truly introduced to the criminal underworld will come from internet notoriety, which will lead them to get picked out from a club where the owner, most likely Booby Ike, will take notice and offer them more professional work. There was some clips from the trailer that make me lean towards this theory, which hopefully will be playing in the background for you to see what I mean. When the man is recording himself and both Jason and Lucia, it clearly looks like they don't want their faces in the camera, most likely because they have been previously recorded committing crimes. I think this is where the game will truly start picking up, because once our protagonists will start working with Booby, that's when most of the cast will open up, like Draquan and the Real Dimes, which is when we'll start to see the other side of Miami nightlife. This is what will eventually lead us to meeting Raul, the man who will in some way change the story in a big way. Rockstar's already hinted towards him being someone who betrays you, given his clothing is almost identical to Lance Vance from Vice City. And for anyone who hasn't played Vice City, Lance was basically the main character's friend throughout the game, but inevitably betrays him due to paranoia and ego. Also, sorry for the small spoiler for Vice City, but I think these details are actually crucial. There's definitely a reason why we see Raul dressed almost identical to Vance, and I think the reason for his betrayal will also be almost identical. But now the question is, why would Raul get paranoid? Well, I think I actually have the answer to that. A big part of the past few Rockstar games has always been betrayal and government or law interference. In GTA 4 and 5, we see the main protagonists working with the government in some kind of way. I think we can expect the same thing from GTA 6. Now let's take a step back for a second to really put all of this together. When Jason and Lucia become big-time criminals, they meet Raul. Raul is most likely this hotshot bank robber guy, which we clearly already saw in the trailers and screenshots. I think Raul will serve as this hybrid Lester and Dutch character who will plan the mid-game heists, and also lead them, being the point man for these operations. Given that info, I imagine he would most likely be a character who's already paranoid and very suspicious of the people that he works with. Now, this is where things get a little too foggy for me to exactly predict how our heroes get involved with the government, but we do have something. The theory of Jason being a cop might probably be one of the longest going GTA 6 theories we have, and I think there's something there. In the trailer, we clearly get tons of POV shots from what appears to be cops, as well as Jason's clothes in one of the screenshots looking a lot like one of the cops in the body cam footage from the trailer. I almost know for a fact that Jason will be the one who is in some way involved with law enforcement. Why or how, we obviously don't know. But one guess I have is that at some point, maybe even during the tutorial, Jason gets pinched for a crime and agrees to either help the police or become an informant of some kind. I say this because it seems super unlikely that Lucia would be the one who makes any kind of deals, even though I could be totally off and maybe it is Lucia who makes some kind of deal in prison and that's why she gets out early. Like I said, it seems pretty unlikely, and while I was writing this, something else did pop into my head, and it could be a possibility that Jason makes some kind of deal with the cops to actually get Lucia out earlier, which could be the reason why the guard in trailer 2 seems to have recognized Jason. It's too early to get a good idea of how exactly Jason starts working with the law, but it's almost a fact that he does in some kind of way. They could even have it where cop missions and that whole aspect of the game could be locked to just Jason, since maybe Lucia won't even know about it, and it could be a secret that Jason holds with him until the end of the game. Regardless, I think that will be a core part of the story and will strongly play into the mid and late game. Now, going back to Raul, sometime around the end of the game, I have a feeling he'll get wind of Jason working with the feds, and that's when the climax of the game will truly start. I think this is where we'll start to see those Jason or Lucia will end up betraying each other theories come to life. I've thought a lot about why either of the characters would end up killing or betraying one another, and this theory seems to make the most sense. Raul will find out Jason is a Fed and will start hunting down both of the protagonists. Before I keep going, there is something we haven't covered yet that I think is super important to mention. In some early leaks, there was talk of a relationship meter. Even though it's a leak, I have a really good feeling that this will make it into the game. I actually think that this will be a core mechanic that determines how the story will unfold and what options you as the player will have towards the end of the game. Essentially, Jason and Lucia could either love, hate, or be indifferent to each other throughout the game. When the time comes to make certain choices, this will be the mechanic that determines how many endings we have access to. And yes, I do think we're almost certainly going to have multiple endings. Now, regarding to the whole Raul thing, I have a good feeling that Lucia will have the opportunity to betray Jason and side with Raul after finding out that he's been compromised, which may or may not allow us to play as Raul, although this is a tough one because I'm not sure if Rockstar will go down this route, but there is a chance. Otherwise, after Jason gets killed, we might only be locked as Lucia. But I think it could be an awesome feature to have the option to play as a totally new character if we decide to get rid of Jason, similar to how the Red Dead games kind of went. I also speculate there will be a choice to fight against the corrupt cops or agents who have Jason in a chokehold, kind of giving us an ending similar to GTA 5 where the main protagonists essentially kill all the people who are forcing them to betray each other. With all that being said, I'm really curious what you guys actually think. If you agree with my theories, let me know, or if you think certain things would be different, I'd also love to hear it. I really enjoy reading all of the comments and having an open discussion about your thoughts and feelings about the game. Anywho, thank you all for coming and watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.